Hello, everyone, and welcome to the University of Rhode Island Computer Science and Statistics. In today's lesson, we are going to talk about installing and configuring Apache2 on your Linux web server. So I know most of you have already completed this already from previous assignments, but I just wanted to take you through the steps of how you could, another way where you could actually set up your Apache web server and get it up and running. Believe it or not, one of the most popular piece of software that provides web services to a lot of websites throughout the world is the Apache HTTP web server, right? It powers really a huge portion of websites on the web today. And it's really important to know how to manage this server in order to really understand what kind of certificates, how the websites are encrypted, and really get going for the most part, right? So let's take a look at our systems here. So what I essentially did is I went to Apache.org, right? Apache is really a project. It's really an effort to develop and maintain open source HTTP server for modern operating systems. And it's what most web servers that you utilize today use. So if you're using a web service like a GoDaddy, Bluehost, and amongst others that exist out there, they all actually sit on a Linux server or using Apache. So right now, if I was to do IP address and write my IP, you would notice that my IP address is 192.168.107.145. So if I wrote that here, 192.168.107.145, nothing would really come up, right? I have nothing that I've installed, so there's really nothing that's going to come up for users to be able to see what I have. So in order to get this thing up and running, what we have to do is we actually have to install our Apache. So I'm going to do apt install Apache2 to get, I have to do sudo apt-get install Apache2 and password in order to install the Apache2 web server. All right. So once I have successfully downloaded and installed Apache, all the packages that I need are basically going to deploy themselves for me to be able to see what's going on. So let's take a look at if I could access the server now utilizing this tool that I just did, right? So the primary files, believe it or not, in Apache, Apache come in two .config files. But let's actually refresh this since I just installed the server to see if I am able to actually access this. So when I press enter, you will notice that the IP address for my Linux host, right, which is IP address, actually works now, right? So when I write 192.168.107.145, you will notice that I now have access to Apache2 Ubuntu default page. That is the default page for my Apache web server, right? It's nice and easy to actually access and, navigate over to this page. And if I want to see exactly where this file is located, and it's saying here you should replace this file located before continuing to operate the HTTP web server. So yes, if this web server is going to go online and you're going to use it for production services, you definitely want to make sure that you change this file. So in order to actually get to that file, all we would have to do is, let's do a vi ar/www/html/index.html, okay? And you'll notice here that I am actually taking a look at exactly what I am utilizing, right? So you see the CSS here. If you've never coded in CSS, it's called cascading style. So it's your basic HTML template. And if I scroll here, you'll notice I have my HTML document that matches my Apache web server. So this is the default welcome page used to test the correct operation of Apache. And this is the correct. And you basically can tell that I am actually using this Apache navigation menu here, right? So if you wanted to check out the page where everything's located for Apache, this is essentially where you would go to find out what exists there. And if you want, you can actually change this file and put something different so users actually can't see this, because it does give a lot of information about your server. All right, so I'm gonna QA to get myself out of here. Okay, so now that I'm out of there, what I want to do is I want to actually navigate to my Apache server. So I'm going to do cd/etc/apache2, and you're going to notice that I am here. So I'm going to do a ls-l to take a look at the files that I can actually explore in my Apache web server, right? So some of the files I can actually take a look at exploring is my Apache2.conf file, my conf available, my conf enabled, envers, magic, blah, 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 right? I have a lot of different files that I can actually take a look at. So let's say I wanted to actually take a look at the conf file, right? Because that's essentially where most of my most important documents are. So I am going to navigate to that with the VI editor, right? It's the built-in Apache editor .conf to take a look at, okay, QA, Control C, clear, Apache2. Make sure you add Apache2 and don't do what I did. Okay, so now I am actually in here, right? So this is the configuration file of really that contains the information for how the configuration file works, right? So here, if you look at the diagram, you will notice how you can manage sites and how you can actually navigate through the directory to see exactly what is going on here in my Apache web server, right? So you'll notice that it is split into several files forming the configuration hierarchy. Below are located in the /etc/Apache directory. And what your Apache server essentially did, which is actually phenomenal, is instead of having one long file with all of this information in it, it actually split it up into multiple folders and multiple directories, and really multiple files for users to actually be able to take a look at what's happening in their Apache, right? So if I scroll down here, let me come in here, scroll down, right? You will notice that I can see the hierarchy of my folder. I can see if I go to ports.conf, I can take a look at the port configurations that are set up for my Apache. If I scroll a little bit further down, I can see when the server would time out, the max keep alive request. I can really see a lot of information about my Apache web server up to, I don't want to get to the directories yet, right? I even have a section here where this is where it actually creates a directory where I can manage my users and groups, right? In order to grant permission, using or being able to copy files or really host various directories, I need to be able to have users and groups that can do that. And this needs to be set. So you notice that I have a user and group section, right? If I scroll further down, I will get a good sense of my directories that holds my users, my www websites, and my server configuration files that I need to take a look at, right? So you notice that my Apache file is actually the conf file is really critical to my Apache, where I can make a lot of changes and really get access to a lot of the configurations that I need. Okay, so one of the most important things that we will also need to get access to, I'm probably sure you're asking now, yeah, I showed you what the main file is, but where is the website? So let me actually exit out of this. So let's clear this. Okay, so to take a look at your sites that are available, or your sites available folder, all we have to do is cd to sites-available, right? And let's do an ls-l, right? So in the sites available, you will notice that you have two configuration files that are available to you. So in your sites available configuration file, this is where you can actually take a look at your SSL configurations and where your documents essentially are stored as far as your website goes. So what I just did earlier is I went to the one to the website using the IP. So let's actually navigate to this to take a look at what this all looks like. So I'm going to do a VI again, 00. And VI is one of the text editors that we use. So you could actually use Nano. I don't recommend using Nano unless you want to make changes to your site. But you could use Nano 000-default.conf, right? And you'll notice that this is essentially where my virtual host holds all of the information that I need. So this really gives you a good sense of how the website essentially works, right? So you notice here that you have the asterisk port 80. And what that basically means is your web server will work on pretty much any address that uses that port, right? So the www dot here is the main configuration of your server. The server admin address is where users usually can email or send you information if the server was to go down, so to speak. And you really can make changes in this if you wanted to, okay? So if I keep scrolling down, again, I can add a server name. So let's say I had a server that was live and I wanted to add the domain configuration. I could actually come in here and add that fully qualified domain in order to access that information, right? So if I go further down, this is where my error page is, where if something was to happen, I can take a real look at it and explore what's really going on with my server. It really keeps us organized. And you notice, and again, this could have been added to the previous page, but what Apache did a real good job at doing is really breaking everything up. So that way you have to navigate from one directory to the other, right? So if you have multiple sites, your document root, your www.html root is where HTML files are housed and configured based on whatever changes you would like to make. So I'm not going to make any changes to this, but that's basically how you can actually set up your Apache server and navigate to it and make any changes that you may see fit for your server. All right. Thank you for watching, installing, and really configuring your Apache server.